All right. Welcome back to another episode of Light Skin, number 68. Still climbing.
68, that's roughly 68% of 100.
Look at you doing math. I'm proud of you. This is a big moment for Joe. He usually doesn't do good with numbers. But as you can see, we have treats. And we also have a treat for you guys. You see how I rolled that into the... Yep. If you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Sara Cole. I am the president and CEO of the YMCA.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. Like I said, I've been jonesing for this invite, so I was very excited.
Yeah. And just to let y'all know, she set a standard, okay? She brought us treats. We also got this cool... I like this.
That's going to be useful.
And it's a YMCA, okay? This is specific. You can't get these nowhere. Look at that. Come on now. Everybody don't have these. Okay? Don't ask. You got to be awarded these.
You have to know someone,
You don't just get these out, so we'll put these to the side over there. Joe, if you want to grab that one.
Yeah.
And she also brought us a cool sign. Joy is the greatest form of resistance. Tell us about this before we dive in.
So I feel like this is just a message. For me right now, this is what I need when I'm living in the world today and thinking, what can I do? Yeah. And to sort of remind myself that joy is its own form of resistance. How can we keep finding joy? How can we sustain ourselves? And this is like a beautiful piece. Warrior Printress made this. They are in Lincoln Park. I love their work.
Shout
they do letterpress, and their work is beautiful, and they're amazing people. And so when they told me they were going to make these, I was like, I need to buy some so that I can give these to the people I love and respect.
Dope.
Because I think we got a lot of work to do, and we got to keep it going, and we're going to have some fun because otherwise we can't keep going. So just as a good reminder for me personally. I'm like, who can I give this to who's working hard in the community too?
Yo, thank you. We really appreciate it. I'm going to set that there. Why not?
It's a good reminder. Yeah.
So, turn it. Yeah. Well, people can always read it. Boom, there it is. All right. Well, like always, let's start at baby Sara.
Yeah, so I am the oldest of 6 kids, and my parents were young and in love when they had me. So I feel like I was just sort of born this way. Like little Sara was loud and precocious and not afraid to tell you what she thought. My dad tells a story. My parents worked opposite shifts so they could, trade off childcare. And so my dad used to work the 4 to midnight shift. They're both nurses. Yeah. So he would come home at midnight and it would take a while to unwind. He'd probably eat dinner and stuff. So he'd be sitting in the recliner in our living room. And sometimes I would toddle out down the hall from my bedroom because I heard him. And he would kind of let me sit in the crook of his arm for a little while before he put me back to bed. And he says that one night, I think I was 3, he happened to be watching. This is the days of just network TV. We probably had 5 channels, and Jesus Christ Superstar was on. And so I toddle out. I'm kind of sitting in his arm, and the part is on where Mary Magdalene is singing the "I Don't Know How to Love Him" song, and so I'm just sitting quietly, and I say, "Dad, why is everyone mad at her? Why don't they like her?" And my dad's like, "Oh, how do I answer this question for my very young child?" So my dad's like, "Well, she was doing some things that some people didn't agree with." And so he's in his mind, all right, nailed that. And I stay quiet for a couple minutes, and I'm like, well, what kind of things was she doing? So he's like, well, she was doing some things with her body that people didn't agree with. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And then, a couple more minutes go by, and I'm like, well, what kind of things? And he's like, oh my gosh, man, it's midnight. And he's like, well, she was, selling her body, and some people didn't agree with that. And then he's like, please let that be the end, And so I stayed quiet for a few more minutes, and he thinks he's home free. And then I say, I move my little arms, and I'm like, but Dad, I still don't get it. Was she selling the whole thing or just pieces of it? And that's, I think, very much me. I never know when to leave well enough alone. I never, don't have a question. Yeah. And so I feel I was probably born this way, with a kind of busy mind. Yeah. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. And I'm feisty, and I was probably born feisty.
So did he give you the answer?
I think he was just he laughed and was like, time for bed, probably, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I think we've taken this as far as we can. But my parents are both nurses, so they were really like believed strongly and always being honest with us. Like we always knew the proper names for our body parts. And my mom, like I said, there's 6 of us. So early on, you know, I asked questions about pregnancy. And so apologies to Mrs. White's nursery school, but I laid out some truth at that nursery school.
Like, the kids need to know.
Yeah, that didn't go over that well.
That's funny.
But my parents felt pretty firm about the fact that, you know, we tell kids the truth when they ask questions. So I helped some kids see the truth at nursery school, which Mrs. White did not appreciate.
Where were you born?
So I am from a relatively small city called Canandaigua, New York, which is in the Finger Lakes. Right on Canandaigua Lake is one of the Finger Lakes. Okay. About an hour outside of Rochester, New York.
Yep. One of my best friends, he was from Tri-Line.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
so I was in Rochester a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we go, we get a garbage plate.
Oh, heck yes.
You know, and,
that's local knowledge. Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the next time you're in Rochester, you definitely have to go to my dad's barn and find some cool signs.
Yeah.
Because you'll be close. And I was at the Rochester, I moved away, but then moved back. And right before I came to Duluth, I was working at the Rochester Y.
Okay, yeah.
So
I've lived there plenty of times. Yeah, and
I did not know that.
Yeah, when I go to Rochester, like we'd go work out at the Rochester Y. But my buddy has since moved. He moved to Florida, and now he just built a house in North Carolina. So I haven't been in about. That's probably been a year and a half or so.
All right.
Yeah, I like that area.
You know it, yeah.
So what is a garbage plate?
Oh, so this is a very Rochester, New York thing. And it's all the better if you go super late at night. If you've had several drinks, maybe, you know, it's probably not the kind of food you would gravitate to sober. Also, I feel like it's a young person's food. Like maybe if you're middle age, it's not going to go as well. So it's a plate and it has, you can have some variations, but it's like macaroni salad and like hash browns. And then you can get it with either like burgers or cheeseburgers or hot dogs. And then the whole thing is smothered in this kind of like meat sauce. And typically there's a guy working behind the bar who's like got a cig hanging out and he's like sort of ashing into the food. The whole vibe.
It sounds terrible. It really does. And I remember when my buddies first told me about it, I said, bro, I'm not eating that. It's really good.
You got it. It is pretty good.
It's an experience.
Yes.
You got to try it once.
And it's you have to eat it while you're there because it's a thing. And there's a couple different places, but one of the most the more famous one is Nick Tahoe's, and one of their like stores is like literally in an abandoned like bus depot.
Yep.
So it's a whole experience. Next time you're in New York, you gotta have a garbage
make
plate.
a trip just for the signs.
Yeah, the garbage plate.
Garbage plate.
Yep.
Plus, you can go to Wegmans, which is this great grocery store that has lots of great stuff. So you can get the whole upstate New York experience. You can eat a grape pie while you're there. If you go in the fall, you can eat some grape pie, which is yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I've never had a grape pie.
It is delicious. It's not really a thing anywhere else, I don't think, but you basically during Concord grape season, you can make a pie out of Concord grapes, and it's really delicious.
Is it like jelly though?
Basically, what you have to do, it's a pain, which is probably why it didn't catch on anywhere else, is you have to peel the grapes, like put them through a sieve so you can get the seeds out, cook the insides down, put the skins back in, and that becomes the inside. I know you're making a face, but it really is delicious. It's a lot of work.
I'll try.
Yeah, I think you wouldn't be sorry if you tried a piece of grape pie next time you go back.
I love grapes.
Love grapes.
Stuff.
Love grapes.
So I always think it's so cool, like just the unique foods in different regions, and like for us, top the tater. I mean, we grew up eating top the tater. I remember the first time I spoke to somebody, they were like on the East Coast. I'm like, oh yeah, with top the tater. I'm like, well, what is that? And I felt so strongly, like I wanted to send him top the tater. Like, how do you people not know?
I did that with my mom.
Yeah.
When I moved up here, I was like, what the hell is that? It's amazing.
It is.
I sent it to my mom back home. She loves it. Like, loves top potato. So, yeah.
I just don't understand, like, why more people don't eat top potato.
I feel that we lived in Cincinnati for a little while, and it really, again, hasn't gone that widespread. But in Cincinnati, there's a product called Geta. It's mostly used as a breakfast product. So you buy it kind of in a roll, like the way you would sausage, right? That you slice and you fry it.
Oh my God.
It's made with oats, like which was probably a lengthener maybe during the Depression. It's delicious. And in Cincinnati, It's
not like Scrabble.
It's a little similar.
I love Scrabble.
Yes, you would like it. It's delicious, but you really can't get it outside of the kind of greater Cincinnati area. And you can, mostly people fry it and eat it as a breakfast meat. But in Cincinnati, of course, they have a festival. You can put it on pizza. You can put it in a Reuben. But it's delicious, and you really can't buy it anywhere else. So sometimes we're like, we miss Geta.
We need to travel around.
Yes.
And just eat.
Oh, yeah. Like, that would be cool for...
Taste of Imports.
Yeah. And to just have, like, our regional food from, like, each place.
Yes.
In, like, North Dakota, South Dakota, what is that soup that they have? Oh, man.
I don't know either. I'm going
to put it on this screen.
Yeah.
Because, it's like... I remember the first time I was out there and somebody's like, you got to have this soup.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was really good. And
Really?
I'm like, there again, why is this not everywhere?
Yes. I think that would be so fun. Take me on the road trip where you go around and eat different foods because I would be down for that.
Is,
yes.
boom, that's what we want.
You're eating it.
We should do a hot dish festival.
Oh, yeah.
That might be crazy.
But this is just making me think I need to make you guys a grape pie and bring it so you can say that you've had grape pie. Whether you like it or don't like it, you can check it off your list.
That's right.
That's insane, actually. An insane idea. Could you imagine, like, we have our Taste Twin Ports, and then there's a section. Oh, because that would drive people to get there.
Yes.
You have a whole section where people bring their own hot dishes.
And we have
we're going to have to sign a waiver or something like, hey, you're eating somebody else's food. You
we don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Yes. But that would be insane.
You take your risk. You accept it.
We're talk more about this.
Yeah, because the other thing I just realized is, like, no other place calls them hot dishes.
No, it's a casserole.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the heck a hot dish was.
Not here. Top potato and hot dish, baby.
Let's backtrack. So, how long did you live? Did you graduate in New York? Okay, tell me about growing up.
Sure.
High school and all that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a pretty rural area, and it was. I mean, this was the early 80s, and so we were pretty free range. Like we'd get on our bikes, and there weren't very many people who lived around us, so we played in the forest, we played in the field. We had a really old cemetery behind our house, which of course intrigued us. We didn't have a lot of kids who lived near us, so we often were just playing with each other, the siblings. But it was a lovely way to grow up, just like pretty. My parents generally knew we were in the area, but there wasn't too much trouble to get into. And so I had a really sort of lovely, pretty free childhood. And I was a nerd. I was a nerdy kid. I'm still a nerd. And so I spent a lot of time reading. I spent a lot of time at the library. That was like my safe place. So I hung out at the library a lot. And graduated from high school in my hometown and then went to college in Rochester, New York. So I didn't go too far. I was just about an hour away from where I'd grown up and did my undergrad work there. And then I moved to Western Massachusetts, like the Amherst area, to go to grad school. So that was kind of where I went next.
What did you study?
So English. I thought at that time I was going to be a professor of literature. And I was for a little while, but I loved books. I loved reading. I loved talking about books. So that was when I was, as I was graduating, going to grad school. That's what I thought I was going to do.
Top 3 favorite books, go.
Oh, okay. Number 1, I'm a Charles Dickens fan. Okay. Maybe that seems like it matches, maybe it doesn't, but I love Charles Dickens. And it's probably not a popular call, but Bleak House is maybe my favorite book of all time. It's really long. Charles Dickens mostly wrote in the paper, and he was getting paid by the story. So he was a serial writer. And so a lot of his books are really long because he was trying to get paid. And he was trying to keep the money coming in. So Bleak House is this big fat book, but what I love about Dickens is he creates these minor characters who are just weird and memorable and quirky. And so I love that. I can only probably ever give my top 3 of the moment, but I'm a Sally Rooney fan as well. She's an Irish writer, a fiction writer. All my favorite books are fiction because I read fiction. That's my happy place. And I just had the opportunity to go to Ireland for the first time. And so even though I had read Normal People before, which is a Sally Rooney book. I was like, I got to read Sally Rooney in Ireland.
In Ireland, yeah.
So I bought a hard copy when I was in Ireland at a bookstore, and I read Normal People again in Ireland. And so I love Sally Rooney, love Normal People. Oh, this is very hard for me to be able to say. I also, there's so many fantastic authors. I love Donna Tartt is an author who writes kind of one epic novel every 10 years. Okay. Anything that she writes is always amazing. Like everyone else, probably Barbara Kingsolver recently did kind of a rewrite of a Dickens. She did sort of a reimagining of David Copperfield called Demon Copperhead. And it's really about sort of Appalachia and sort of drug addiction epidemic in our country. And what's really cool about Barbara Kingsolver is she then took the proceeds of that novel and built a rehab facility.
Oh, that's cool.
So she's not only a brilliant writer, but is also in the world trying to do cool things. So I'll also give Demon Copperhead a shout out. But we could talk for we could talk for 75 hours and it would be probably a very boring conversation for everyone else about my favorite books.
I'll give you my favorite.
Yes, I want to hear. Yes, I was about to ask.
Book. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to tell you right now, this book is absolutely insane. The language is very hard to read because it's Old English, So some of the words I had to look up.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But it's so deep. And you realize, Frankenstein wasn't even the monster. He wasn't the monster. The doctor, who his name was Frankenstein.
Yes.
Was actually, he created this creature, but the story's great.
And it's haunting and heartbreaking, right? Because it's also about loneliness. You created this thing that desperately wants a connection with something like it, which we all do. And I agree. That is on my list. I fall into a trap of I read, but then I'm reread. Something reminds me of something else, and that's what's on my reread list because I love Gothic. I love horror. I love Mary Shelley herself, just her life and the work. But I agree with you. That's a haunting.
And I like dark stuff.
Yes.
Like that. I love dark things.
I've never been a big reader. Ever.
Well, I can tell.
Yeah. I've never finished a book my entire life. Except for one.
What was it?
The Bible.
Okay.
That's a pretty impressive. That is a significant. That's a long text.
It's a long book.
It took me, I think, 3 months.
Wow.
And I read.
You did that 2 years ago.
Yes. I read every night for hours.
Yeah.
And for a short time, I was working overnights at the house, so I would just read.
Yeah.
And that's the only book I ever read cover to cover was the Bible.
Well, what's so interesting is it shows up everywhere, right? So in all these other, in so much literature, there'll be these allusions or these sort of Easter eggs or these references. So I feel like you would find it in a lot of, and those themes, of course, universal themes.
Yeah, and I do want to read it again.
Yeah,
because I think the first time you read it, you're kind of on a mission to get it done.
Yeah.
And you can't really take it all in.
There's a lot in it.
Yeah. And I read
a bunch of times too.
King James version.
Go ESV next time.
Yes. Oh, no. And NIV I read.
Oh, NIV.
NIV I read, which is an easier read. And then I thought the second time I would go King James, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, but you can do it. You did the first one. Check.
Yeah, you should be good. Well, cool.
I have a question before we move on. Yeah. The cemetery.
Yeah.
So you and I had a really good discussion when you first got here about all the signs and we like history. And it was interesting when you talked about the cemetery, how you thought it was kind of cool. And I think that's something with people who like history, because I have this really weird thing. If I'm driving through a town and I see an old cemetery, I want to pull over, see if I can find the oldest one.
Yes.
And I love to find them in the late 1800s. Because, like I would tell my kids, just think they came in a horse and carriage.
Yes.
To come to this spot to bury.
Yes.
So what was the oldest date in that cemetery?
So that's a good question. And I feel like now I need to drive back. But many of them were from the War of 1812. There were folks who had died in the War of 1812 buried there. There were also, as you can imagine, in any historic cemetery, you're going to see a lot of baby graves and child graves, right? Because of illness. But I was always intrigued. Even in high school, I kind of did a very small local project where one of my schoolmates and I would like go to different local cemeteries, and we were trying to track, had there been a lot of death at one particular time from an illness in this area? What can you tell? Cool. And some of those grave sites or tombstones, as you know, have some information, sometimes even more. Sometimes it will say something like died of blank, or died in the War of 1812, and then sometimes not. So I agree. And I don't know if 1812 was the oldest. There might have been some slightly earlier, but we were just endlessly intrigued by it. Yes. And it was sort of, there was our house and then kind of a field, but a small field, and then the cemetery. So it kind of appeared to be in the middle of these farmers' fields, but probably at one time it was a good location before any of those things were there for this town's cemetery. Well, and that's really cool
because out there you're getting, grave sites that are that old. Out here, I don't think we would ever find one in 1818. There just wasn't enough people around here, I think. So and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is one around here. But I think, if we found something that was maybe 1870, that was probably the best we could get. So cool. Except for the old Indian cemetery burial site up in Jay Cook.
Yeah, I'm about to say the one in Jay Cook, I thought they had some pretty old ones out there. Or maybe they're not dated.
They are dated.
Okay.
But again, I think late 1800s is the earliest that I could.
So you're going to add this to your New York trip.
Yes.
Visit the cemetery behind my parents' old house. Grape pie. Well, I can bring you the grape pie. Yeah. Nick Tahoe's, Wegmans.
Yeah. Yes.
Rochester YMCA.
This will be a great trip. Yes. This will be a great trip, for sure. When you were going to college, finishing up, did you ever think you wanted to get out of New York or just that East Coast area-ish? What was kind of your thoughts then?
That's a good question. I remember when I applied to grad schools, I think most of them happened to be on the East Coast. Okay. So I don't know that I gave it a lot of thought. Maybe in the way that when you're young, I don't know that, at least I didn't have very specific ideas. I felt like I was really, because I had not moved far away to go to college. It was pretty close to where I grew up. So I remember moving to Massachusetts felt really far. It was probably like 6 hours from where I grew up, so it wasn't really far. But I remember that felt like kind of adulthood, like, okay, now I'm away from home. Yes, I'm now living too far, to drive home on the weekends. But I didn't give a lot of thought to it. And I always say, like, I really love living in Minnesota, and I love the great things that our state is doing all the time. I just saw last night that Walls is stepping up for food access. And but I will admit, like, I think growing up on the East Coast, I think the East Coast kind of only thinks about itself. Yeah. And so I don't know that I ever thought a lot about the Midwest. I remember when I moved, I ultimately moved. I was like living in Worcester, Massachusetts, working in Boston, and I moved to Cincinnati. And I remember when I got to Cincinnati, I was like, I'm in the Midwest. And everyone who lives in Cincinnati is like, this is not the Midwest. And I'm like, what is it? It's not the East Coast. But then when I moved to Duluth, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I wasn't in the Midwest before. Now I'm in the Midwest. So I don't think I thought a lot about it.
So tell me about how you ended up in Duluth. So from Massachusetts, you went to Cincinnati. Was that because of a job out there?
I always say, like, I moved to Cincinnati for love for two reasons. I was dating my now husband. Okay. And, like, I was...
So that works out.
Yes. I was spending, like, all my waking hours in Boston where I was working. But I lived in Worcester. I used to commute 3 hours a day, which was insane. Yeah. Paid $7 a day in tolls. Wow. Worked at a nonprofit. So I had no money. And I was spending a lot of time, and I was Boston traffic. So it was feisty,
I
fierce.
love Boston, by the way.
It is a great city, and if I ever, now when I go back to, and I drive, I'm like, how did I live? This is scary. Yep. So I was in love with Andy, and I was like, we are too old to be doing this long. We weren't that old, but I felt like, why are we living in different cities? This is so stupid. He was living in Cincinnati at the time. And so I was like, I will go on the job market. I'll find a job in Cincinnati. And so I was, at the time when I was working in Boston, I was working for the JJ system. Yeah. I was running all the educational facilities in the state. I was realizing that I was a horrible bureaucrat, which I think anyone who's met me for 5 minutes would probably be able to guess, but I somehow didn't know that. So I loved working with the youth.
For sure.
I hated being in a big bureaucracy because it felt like it took forever to do everything. And I was surrounded by a lot of people that just seemed like they wanted to do nothing until they died and got their pension. So it was not a great fit. So I was like, I'll go on the job market. And so I saw this job at the Cincinnati YMCA, and I like took swim lessons at the Y as a kid, so I knew maybe this much about the Y. But this job was like food access and education, and I was like, the Y does this stuff? I was blown away. I was like, I have to get this job. So I always say, like, I moved to Cincinnati, I got the job, and I kind of was in love with Andy, and I fell in love with the Y at the same time. So I kind of moved for love.
Was it that YMCA in Cincinnati? Was it a big one?
Yeah, so that Y is really big. That's probably, at the time I was there, maybe around like a $50 million YMCA, so big Y. And I got a job basically overseeing what we called out of school time, that clunky phrase, which I hate because it feels so awkward. Basically after school, you know, running after school programs and doing some of our food access work, which I loved. And then I felt like I just fell in love. I was like, oh my gosh, I was at historically black YMCA, which was the Melrose YMCA, loved it very much, like got to learn the community and know the neighbors and be in community, and that Y had great history and great current stuff. And I was in love. I just was in love with that work.
How long were you in Cincinnati for?
So I was in Cincinnati for about 3 years before I got recruited to go back to New York to the Rochester YMCA, so not far from where I'd grown up.
Were you wanting to, at the time, get out of that Cincinnati and go check some different areas out and wanting to go back home specifically?
No, I really loved living in Cincinnati. I also sort of fell in love with that city. Again, it was never a city I'd been to. And I just really, it was like a beautiful, diverse city, like very accessible, like coming from Boston, it was like easy to drive and relatively cheap to live. And it just felt like all the best things about a big city, but much more livable. And so, no, I really loved Cincinnati. I think I was just thinking about like what was next for me with my job. And so when that opportunity in Rochester opened up, it felt right, but I don't think we were necessarily planning to go back to New York, but it worked.
Now, what does Andy do?
So he has done a lot of things. He's a very amazing, supportive spouse to me, which I so appreciate. So his biggest work history is in HR. So he's done a lot of work in HR. He now works at Fond du Lac Tribal College, teaching some like English, basic language, and teaching like returning learners, and loves that work and works for AEOA. So really loves that. But he's uprooted his life several times in service to me and to the YMCA, which I really appreciate.
For sure. Shout out to Andy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Andy. So, all right, take us through. Now you're back at Rochester. Now, then what? Yeah.
So in between, you know, before I went to work for the JJ system in Boston, I was teaching. I was teaching English to really bored white kids mostly. And I was like, this cannot be it. I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like, I feel like I'm not doing anything useful. So kind of in my off hours, I would do kind of volunteer at like community-based nonprofit work. So eventually I decided I'm going to leave. I'm going to go work for a nonprofit. I probably couldn't have told you then that a university is a nonprofit, but what I meant was I was going to work for like a community nonprofit. So I got a job in Dorchester, Massachusetts at this relatively small nonprofit called Project Hope, which was amazing. It was providing wraparound services for single moms going back to school. So tuition stuff, but also housing support and childcare support and all the other wraparound services that folks need to go to school. And I just learned so much. The woman who ran the agency was a 78-year-old nun named Sister Margaret. And Sister Margaret did not have time for anyone's nonsense, including mine, and just taught me a lot about working in community. One cool fact about her was that she knew how to hotwire cars because, you know, sometimes your car would get stolen. And
great lady.
Yes, if you went to her crying, as I did, she'd be like, just relax. I need a flashlight and a screwdriver. And I know like one of the 5 places where your car will be. And she would help you find your car and drive it home. So that I think was a really important time in my life because I learned a lot about community nonprofit, and I was really bad at it when I first got there. I think I showed up young and I thought I had all the answers, and I probably owe an apology to every single person I worked with at that time for thinking that I knew everything as like a 20-year-old white woman who was just showing up in this community. But I learned a lot in that period of time. And I think that probably planted the seeds for my work now. So after that, I went to work for the JJ system, Cincinnati, Rochester. I was in Rochester for 5 years at that Y. And then I always say, like, I was writing a lot of checks with my mouth, and it was time for me to see if I could cash them. So I always had a lot to say about what I would do if I was the boss, or if I was the CEO. Some of, which I've actually done, and some of which I've been like, okay, I was wrong about that. And so I knew I was going to go on the market as a CEO, looking for a CEO gig. Yeah. And we were pretty open about where we would live. We don't have children, so we were pretty willing to move to a lot of places. Probably like the American, like Southeast is not a great fit for me politically. So I don't know that I don't think I'd be a great fit in most places in Texas, and there's some other places. So I kind of had my eye on the rest of the country, and we saw Andy actually was like, oh, there's an opening in Duluth. I'd never been to Duluth. I'd been to Minneapolis, I think, one time. Yep. And maybe I'd been to the Minneapolis airport one time. So maybe 2 times. And I was like, all right. I mean, who knows? Like, I might have to apply for a lot of jobs before I get picked. So might as well start, let's go. And then I think like 8 weeks later, it was over and I was moving to Duluth. So it all felt like it happened very quickly.
And how long ago was that?
So on actually November 1st, so right around the corner, is going to be my 8-year anniversary. So just like this week, 8 years ago, I moved to Duluth, and we had a fairly big, not like historically big, but like a fairly big snowstorm.
You know what?
And it was a Halloween like snowstorm.
We just talked about this. So I remember this. So I think I might have just started at NYS or the year before. Because my buddy was asking me, he said, dude, do you remember this big old snowstorm we had Halloween a while ago? I said, well, I remember 2. One happened at our trunk or treat. And I was like, nah, it couldn't have been that year. And then he went to explain some of it. I said, I do remember this. And I remember it was bad because, and then I just had a memory pop up on my phone from it.
Yes.
And man, it was like, I remember we got like a foot in like 2 hours or something like that. It was something insane. And I went outside in my underwear and a flannel. And Tim's and took a picture. I was like, dang, this is, and I mean, you were in upstate New York, Western New York, where I think they get more snow than here. We just get cold here. Yeah.
I remember that first winter. So Andy was still like back in Rochester. I was here, and I called him, and that's exactly what I said. He was like, what's it like? And I'm like, well, there's, we got more snow, but it's colder here. And there's steeper hills. Because I think that was the first year I ever bought snow tires. And my husband's like, we don't buy snow tires. And I was like, well, it's hilly here. Driving down some of those streets. So I was like, I bought snow tires for the first time in my adult ever in my life, even having grown up in New York.
The snow tires are amazing.
Yeah, it was a good buy. And I was not at that time driving a 4-wheel drive. I am now. I have learned my lesson, but I was not. And so they probably saved me more than once of not being that person who has to back down the hill, which you never want to be that person.
I remember when I first got my driver's license, I had a Ford Ranger, and it was only a 2-wheel drive. And I was on Mesaba Avenue, and it was a stick shift. And I remember just sitting there, tires spinning, and I'm like, I can never do this again.
No,
because all these cars are behind you, and then you learn about the sandbags. But all of that, they didn't really have snow tires back then. Maybe they did, but I don't know. We didn't have them. But yeah, you learn pretty quickly what you need to navigate through Duluth.
And that first winter, I was living in Hermantown, so I would drive down Mesaba and take that 2nd Street death-defying exit. And I remember a lot of mornings thinking, like, please don't let this be the end. Like, please don't let me not be able to stop and, like, crash. Because you got that hill with the curve.
That turn is dangerous.
Yeah, it's scary. And then, of course, it was, like, all the roads going down to First, where I had to go. It's like, oh, this one's a 4-way stop. This one, no one stops. This one, 2 people stop. So you also have to stay alert because the rules are different at every cross street. Like, is everyone stopping or no one stopping? You know, and then you're like, I hope I can stop. Yeah. Like, if there is, you know, you're like pumping the brakes. So, yeah, I feel like there were some dicey moments that first winter.
I've always said that second street exit is insane.
That was scary.
Like, you risk your life every time you go down there. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I remember...
People have died on that.
Dude, I was behind the car. And it took it too fast, and it was actively snowing at the time. I said, this dude is, sure enough, ran up on the sidewalk, hit that wall, boom, and I said, oh my. And now I'm sliding, and I'm like,
oh no.
But I'm going slower.
Yeah, you know,
so I managed to just miss that sidewalk there, and I said, oh, this. But I went straight through that four-way stop. Went straight through it, and I was like, yo, they got to figure this out. This is not...
I am very glad I don't have to do that exit anymore.
It's bad. So coming here as a CEO, what were you most excited for, and what were you most nervous about?
I feel like I was nervous about everything. I remember the first, so I started November 1st, and I pulled up, so my office is at the downtown Y, and I pulled up on the street. I started parked on the street, and it was early, so it kind of wasn't light yet. And I remember I got out of my car and I looked up at the building, and I thought to myself, I am responsible for this whole building and everyone and everything in it. And my stomach just sort of dropped, like the way you feel on a roller coaster. Yeah. And the truth was, it was bigger than that. There were also like other buildings and more people, but I couldn't even think that yet. I just had to like practice. And so for every morning for many months, I practiced having that thought when I got to work, and it got less scary. But that first morning, so I think at heart, I was the most excited about the potential to be of service and to do good work. And I was probably most nervous that I would fail people in some way. Like, I think it all boils down to that, you know, that I wanted to be useful, and I wanted to do a good job, and I wanted to do right for the community, and I wanted to do right for the folks who worked for me, and that I was nervous that somehow I wouldn't measure up or that I wouldn't know some key thing. I remember I'm a nerd, as I told you, so my safe place is knowing things. Yeah. And of course, none of us can know everything, even about the narrowest thing, right? But in my fantasy world, I would know everything. I would know how to fix a pool pump. Yeah. I would know every shade of paint off the top of my head. I would know every single employee's spouse's name and what their favorite color is. And I can't know all of that. And so I remember being really nervous and even saying to Andy, like, well, I don't know how to fix a pool pump. And he's like, I don't think that's your main job. You know, I think right. So I think it's like, just knowing, I mean, and you both live this too, because I think any of us as adults, you have to know a lot, and you don't always, sometimes you know a sort of breadth of things. Yeah. Sometimes you know a depth, but you can't know the full depth of every single thing that you know.
I know, like, even with my job, when I first started at NYS, I was so excited to be back into a position to, like, serve community. Like, I loved that. But my thoughts were, am I still relatable? You know, like being a little, and I wasn't not that old, but I watch how kids change so much. And it's like, all right, can I still relate with that generation under me? You know? And just kind of getting to that point, it's like, you know what, I'll figure it out. You know, just walking the door. I remember walking that door, and it wasn't that many kids at the time because it was COVID still. Yeah. You know, we had 12 kids when I first started. And thinking, I'm very happy we only had 12. I wish we were booming. But now the challenge started of how do I get this place booming? Yes. Let me get this relationship with this solid 12 and then my staff and all that. And sure enough, you know, in 2 weeks, we went from 12 to averaging 60.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's amazing.
But it is just that initial start. It's like you said, it's like, all right, I don't want to fail these people.
Yes.
You know, so what do I need to do to lock in, to let them know, hey, y'all can trust me. Yes. I'm going to trust y'all. Let's go to work.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, and I think if you're doing your job right as a leader at any level, you are thinking, first and foremost, how do I serve these folks? And I like to say lately, like, I love a J.B. Pritzker energy. Like, if you're going to come for my people, you're going to come through me. Like, heck yes. Because sometimes I think as the leader of an organization, you do, stand in front of your folks and take the hits and advocate for them. And, so you're trying to do that, and you're of service to your wider community, the folks you serve and your neighbors. And I think it is such a sort of like a heart calling to do that, that it feels like really sacred, important work. And it's the last thing I would ever want to fail at. I think all of us fail at it in the service of getting better. Sure. But, I would never want to be a person that someone said, she didn't care or she didn't give it her all. If I fail in the service of trying something new or trying to do better, I think that's one thing. But if I failed because I didn't try hard enough or I didn't care enough, that would be the very worst thing, for sure. I think.
Yeah. This is a question, it's a good question. What to you sticks out about Duluth when it comes to community and serving here? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you that's different from what you've seen in Rochester and Ohio?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I used to say for a bunch of years, I'm a new Midwesterner, and I don't even think I can say that anymore because it's been 8 years. Yeah. Although, of course, I think I'll never be considered a Duluthian, right? Because I was not conceived here, and my grandparents were not conceived here. I often think of the things that are similar, like the issues, right? Like, every community has an issue with equity, and every community has an issue with resources, and how do we get people fed, and how do we keep people housed, and how do we give people an opportunity to live joyful lives and do things that are meaningful to them. I think I'm still very much, one of the things that's tricky for me about living in the Midwest, I've only lived in Duluth, so I guess I can just say Duluth. I remember before I moved here, I was talking to someone who lived here, and I'm like, what is it like? Yeah. And they're like, you're not going to be able to tell how people are thinking. Like, you're not going to be able to tell what people really feel. And I remember I didn't say this out loud, thankfully, but I was like, I will. I'm great at reading people. And then sure enough, I moved here. And one of the first things that I had to do was we were running a mentoring program. We were the lead agency. And there were a bunch of other agencies around the table. And we had to change the way that things are being done because there were some pretty unsafe things happening. Yeah. And so we had to make some changes. And I didn't think they were profound changes, but sometimes people don't love change. Yeah. So I came up with a solution, and I went around to all the other agencies, and I went to them. I went to their office because I thought, nobody knows me. I mean, I just got here. So I went and I sat down with the head of each agency like this, and I said, like, here's the problem, here's a solution. Yeah. And everyone agreed. Like, everyone nodded, everyone was like, yep. And so then I went to the funder, and I was like, great news. I mean, we have a solution. And he said, how does everyone else feel? And I'm like, they all feel good. And he said, think again. And no one actually agreed. But I could not tell that.
That's passive aggressive.
So that I hate. I'm not good at it. I don't want to be good at it. Yeah. I would rather, I'm a fan of, like, lately I've been saying doing things in the light. Yeah. Like, let's say what we have to say in the light, not in the dark. And then if we can work it out, we don't have to agree. Maybe you don't agree with me. Maybe you don't particularly like me. Okay. We can still work together. Yeah. Right. But let's do it up here in the light, because otherwise it just wastes time. That's it. I think we agree, but then I find out later that we don't. Yep. And I feel foolish, but also we've wasted a bunch of time that we could have just said, hey, Sarah, I really don't agree with that. And so I find that tricky. Yeah. And I continue to find it tricky, and I continue to wish that we would do things in the light. And I challenge myself to do that too. Like, how can I be honest about sort of what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling, and then we can go from there. But I think many of the issues are the same, and maybe the tricky thing for me is still trying to read Midwesterners. I always say, like, as a New Yorker, I feel like I can read emotion in the upper and lower registers, but like Midwesterners are all in this like middle register, and I can't tell. It's
very interesting. And, Joe, me and Joe are together a lot, and we do, coaching football and as well as like a lot of serving the community. And, Joe knows I'm so straightforward. Like, I do not like the beating around the bush stuff. And some people think, oh, that's me. I'm not mean. I want to know how you truly feel about things. I would rather you let me know up front, so either I ain't got to waste my time or you don't got to waste yours, And And I've come to some of those places where I've had to sit down with people and present different things, and you get a yes, and then before I leave, I'll turn around and say, "Yo, are you sure?" Because if I got to come back here, it's not going to be this guy.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about whatever reserves you have, all of it. Get on the table. We can disagree, and that's okay. Like,
yes.
That's more than cool with me.
Yes.
But let's come, if we're going to deal with people, whatever our biases are, put them aside. Let's figure it out for the people, so.
Yes. Well, you're an East Coaster too, right? Yeah. So, yes, we speak. Well, that'll be good to know. We'll know that when we meet together, folks are just going to say what they have to say, and then we can go on.
And we always best friends still. Like, it's great.
Yes. I will save 8 to 10 months of circling around. So I feel like, that's still interesting to navigate. I also wish that we're a relatively small community. I wish we were working more closely together. Yeah. I feel like sometimes we're all in our little boats kind of going in relatively the same direction, but we're not all in the same boat rowing. And I think that's probably for a couple of reasons. I think folks are really busy. If you work at a nonprofit, you're busy. Yeah. And I think that nonprofit folks were always raised to think that we're each other's competition. Yeah. And I think that's not real. Yeah. There's so much work for us to do. We could always do it better together, I think. Plus, I think our community depends on having a diverse ecosystem of providers. Yeah. But I think sometimes we think of each other as competitors. So I wish we worked together more closely. It feels like we should be able to do that because it is a relatively small community. You could probably pretty easily call together a table of providers, but sometimes we just don't do that. And I don't it hasn't been my sense that folks don't do it because they're mean or they don't care, but maybe just that everybody's busy and we're running as fast as we can. But what do you think? I mean, you've been here longer than I have, right?
I've been here for 9 years.
Oh, okay. Oh, so not that much longer. Okay, but you tell me what your one additional year.
I think this is interesting. So Duluth is interesting in the sense we are very service oriented. That's all we focus on. And I think because of that, we fail in a lot of areas that could make our service more meaningful and better. I also have I've worked with kids everywhere, literally around the world, 60-something countries running camps.
Oh my gosh.
I ran 2 of the largest youth camps in the U.S., one in New York, one in Florida, and just did a lot of mentorship and stuff. And I've never seen so much parent disconnection ever in my entire life. It's interesting. And the kids we work with, they're great. They're awesome. They're also very tough. So many of them run from a lot of adversity because up here we allow them to, especially in the school system. We're quick to put kids on IEPs or say, "Oh, this is hard. You don't have to do it. We're not even going to teach you how to do it. We're just going to put you in this setting to make it easier." And it's no. They have dreams and aspirations to go to college. Maybe the traditional way of teaching ain't working. Instead of just saying, "Don't worry about it," we have to get them to a point where they can be independent. All we do is build their dependency. Not good. And and I think that's why I'm so busy. I'm so busy because I'm trying to keep them away from this system that's holding them back. And it's people say, "Oh, take a break." You can't take a break. These are people.
Yes.
And they rely on my phone ring, Joe knows, 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 6 a.m. I mean, it's no joke, but and they're serious calls, or messages and I love knowing that we're their first thought, so they trust us, but it's also overwhelming because the people that sit in these chairs make decisions for people down here and they don't even understand what's down here, and all the people down here want to do is say, "Damn, how can I get up here one day?" But you're keeping them here, that's the highest they can go. So it's tough. And like I said, trying to get parents involved is very tough. And I hate saying I don't know how or there's no way, but right now we just don't even know how to engage them. We try everything, free meals, money incentives, all that. And it's they still don't want to get involved. So that's tough for us, especially on our staff who has kids of their own and they're great parents, and they wonder, how did your mom let you, come out this way, or no one has showed up to your parents teacher conference, or this and that, and that's tough on the kids. And they always ask, my mom don't care about this anyway. Like, will y'all come? Could you be the chaperone? Could you? And it's like, I wish, but I fit the other kids just ask the same thing. So yeah, it's a battle. And I love it. And I tell people a lot. I said, they lucky I love what I do.
Yes.
Because, man, if I ever fall out of love with this, it's going to be wild.
I think you have to be in love with this kind of work because it's brutal.
Very.
It's brutal even when you love it.
Maybe
it's even more brutal because you care so much and you see these real people, to your point, and you're the first line of defense. And that's a real honor. And it's a real responsibility. And so I always think that too, like I'm so in love, and like any love affair, it has its easy days and it has its hard days, but I can't imagine doing this work if I wasn't in love with it, because it does, there's a cost to it, right? It costs your peace of mind, it costs your free time, it costs your ability to turn off your phone and just not think about it. And, and I am truly in love with it. I feel the same as you. I feel like it's an honor to get to do that, and it makes me want to do it better. And also, I feel like every person I know who works in nonprofit is burned out, and even more so now. Now the news every day, and now we're all thinking like, are people going to be able to eat in November? And so it feels very heavy lately.
For sure. Tell me something that you are proud about doing, like a project or initiative or something that you've implemented as your time being CEO here.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm just going to say the thing that's kind of happening right now because it's on my mind, which is that for the past 2 years, almost exactly 2 years, I've been also running the Superior Y.
Oh, yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
they had a leadership transition and they called us and asked if we would help. And so we stepped in to help. And now our two Ys are merging, which is huge. You obviously both understand the Duluth Superior thing. They feel like they're two very different places. And
my wife's from Superior. That was the first border marriage.
Yes, it's a real thing, right? Yeah, it's a real thing.
Never happening again.
It's a real thing. So I'm really excited about this merger. We're bringing together, our business is more than 150 years old. The Superior Y is more than 100 years old. We're bringing together these two communities, really more than two communities. And so I'm really proud of the service that we'll be able to do, and I'm really proud of being able to be of service to the staff. But maybe I'm the most proud of the way we showed up. Like I like to say to my team, let's be good neighbors. We're good neighbors. And to me, I'm a kid who grew up mostly in the 80s. That really resonates, right? Because Mr. Rogers, and my parents, I think, were both servant leaders, and they made us understand the power of being a good neighbor. And by that, I mean, you care, right? You know who lives around you. You know who your neighbors are. You check in on them. Yep. Maybe you share what you have. Maybe they share what they have with you. But you care. You care how things are going with them. Yep. And I always think like we didn't have to agree to step in. It was really rough. I asked a bunch of people on my team to do a bunch more work. And I didn't give them a bunch more money. I basically just said, we're going to do a bunch more work. And sometimes we're going to do it with people who don't really want us to be there. Yeah. So I think we showed up as good neighbors. And so maybe even more, I'm really proud of the merger. I think that's so exciting. But I think I'm actually prouder. I don't think the merger would have happened if we hadn't shown up as good neighbors. Yeah. So I'm proud of that instinct in my team to show up and be of service without any guarantee that things were going to end in a certain way. I think so the merger is big news, and that's exciting. But I think actually the 2 years that are kind of quiet that people won't really know about is actually the prouder thing. Yeah. Sometimes the public thing, that. It's the public thing is the thing everyone notices, but really it's the late nights and the early mornings, all the work to get there that was the real thing, but it's not very flashy. Yeah,
that's cool. And not to get you off, but I think people don't realize how massive the Y is in all the things that you do. Because when I think of the YMCA, I just think, oh, it's a place you go work out.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, here in Gary, the Y has programming for the kids or whatever. Like, maybe you can just explain like all of the different areas that you guys do services.
Yeah, so we're about to change our name. I can't say what it's going to be yet, but it's coming.
The W?
It's going to be a different name because right now we're the Duluth Area Family YMCA, but even that name we've grown out of.
Twin Ports YMCA.
Because we've got our
Twin Ports YMCA.
light skin pod.
You heard it here first. Stay tuned. So even just the physical footprint is big. So we have the downtown Y. We do programming, as you mentioned, like out in the community, in school buildings and in different places. We also have the Y in Hermantown. We have a Y all the way up in Cook County in Grand Marais. So 2.5 hours from here. We've got Camp Miller. I want to talk about Camp Miller too. I want you guys to come to Camp. I want NYS to come to Camp Miller. So we got Camp Miller on Sturgeon Lake. We have Y's kind of own service areas. That's how we figure out where we can operate. We own zip codes, so to speak, or we claim zip codes. So ours, when once our merger is, on January 1st, we will actually have a service area larger than the state of Connecticut.
Damn.
So going all the way down sort of into Wisconsin, all the way up to Ely. And obviously we don't provide service in every single community yet. But I think there's the opportunity to do that. And so it is widespread. And yes, we do a little bit of programming in Gary still. Unfortunately, we don't do youth programming there anymore. But the Boys and Girls Club does. So that's great. There is programming happening there. But yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of the Y. And I didn't know them either growing up. Like I took swim lessons at the Y. Yeah. So I thought like, the Y has a treadmill and it has pools. Yeah. But I didn't know like, it's the largest provider of after school and early education programs. Or there's camps, or there's food access, or there's anti-racism work, or like all the other things I think the Y can have its hands in, and I hope that we have our hands in.
The Y they do a lot. So I go to both Y's, Duluth and Superior.
Okay.
If I'm doing upper body, Duluth.
Okay.
Because the machine, I like free weights.
Okay. Yep.
If I do lower body, I do Superior because they got an actual platform to do deadlift.
Oh, yep.
So, and both are very different. The crowds are different.
Yes.
The saunas are different.
Yep.
And I remember the sauna went down in Superior, and I'm up there lifting, and you hear the older guys, I'm not going across that damn bridge, and their outlook on it. And then I'm explaining, so I say, they said, the sauna's there small. I say, actually, it's a decent size. Oh, is it? Next thing I know, a couple days later, those guys that were arguing were at the
thank you.
I always try to
You helped to be a community connector.
I said, y'all made it. Yeah, we decided to give it a chance. It ain't that bad here. I said, I'm trying to tell you, it wasn't too bad. So,
I love that. Yeah, I think I always say about like our different branches, they're sisters, they're not twins. So I hope that when you're at our different Ys, they kind of feel like they're in the same family, like they're clean and you get great service, but they all do feel different. And I hope they reflect their communities, and they do, everyone kind of has their favorite location. So yeah, I always feel like there's a lot of exciting things. We're building a new childcare center in the Central Hillside, which I'm excited about. So we'll break ground on that this spring.
Where in the Central Hillside?
So it'll be corner of 5th and 5th. So right now there's basically 4 parking lots there. We are one roof is building some senior housing, Braveview. And so there's going to be an early ed center, so infant, toddler, preschool that we're going to run right in that same building, which is exciting. So we'll be able to do some intergenerational programming. Cool. So super excited about that. And also probably just like you all, I'm like, what's next? Yeah. What is the need? Of course, like food's been on my mind these past weeks, and I'm worried about SNAP benefits. And I'm like, what can we do? Should we have a community dinner? We do some food access, but do we need to do more? So probably just like you, yes. And I want to I feel like we can get down to business. But I'm always trying to think too, like, what am I not thinking about yet? Like, I hope if anything, it's the most important to me that the Y is of service. Yeah. So I want the Y to feel accessible to everyone. I want it to feel good to everyone. I want it to know what our community needs are and stretch to meet those needs. We can't meet every need. No one organization can, but then how do we also work together to show up to each other's events and do warm handoffs, and like just all of those things. I always think that about Camp Miller too. It's been it's 128 years old, resident camp, and I want everybody to feel like it's their camp, and so how do I welcome folks and make that accessible and make folks feel like they're excited to be there and it's their space. So I think probably just like you both, I'm always like, all right, what else? What's next? What are we not thinking of yet?
Is the YWCA still a thing?
Yeah, so the YW is doing, I believe, some work in like kind of childcare advocacy. They're not running an actual center anymore. And I believe they also continue to do some anti-racism work and some sort of supportive, encouraging work for the LGBTQ plus community. I don't know exactly their whole portfolio, but lately we've been around the table with them talking about sort of childcare and how we can keep childcare going and increase childcare, especially infant, toddler, preschool. How do we make it more affordable? How do we have more spaces? Because both of those things are sorely broken. It's really unaffordable. There's not enough of it. So, but yeah, and there are neighbors downtown. I always think like, oh, we're right, at the downtown Y. I feel like we get to be neighbors with Lifehouse and the YW and all sorts of folks. You all, like, we're all sort of down, neighbors-esque in the kind of few block
because there used to be like an old a YWCA housing.
What's the name got that now?
Divine Connections, I think, is going to be doing that. Yeah, so they have that building and they're going to be doing, there's housing in there?
Yep, so there's housing downstairs. Childcare is on the second floor. It's housing and childcare.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's where I was at before the freshman game when I was late. Because I barbecued for their grand opening.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they do great. I love them.
That's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah. As we start.
But what about you? I want to ask the same question. Like, what are you the most proud of? Maybe two questions. What are you the most proud of it, like work-wise, and then what are you excited about that's coming up?
Oh, this is actually good. What I'm most proud of. So when Willow Hills closed, which I don't know if you know a lot about Willow Hills, but they closed summer of 21. We went first under Lifehouse. Long story. Then we went under Family Freedom Center. Longer story. Way longer. So we just leave it there. We didn't know what we were going to do after that. I just always knew, like, if I wish we knew the Woodland Hills closing was coming faster. Yeah. Because we could have prepared better. I didn't find out Woodland Hills was closing until May, like end of May, and like the second week of June. Like, I got a call at 2 o'clock that said, hey, we are now releasing NYS because y'all got your own funding. By 4 o'clock, okay, so they give me 2 hours. What? By 4 o'clock, you're all going to be staff at Lifehouse. And I said, what? Oh. And we had 80-something kids at a park in Superior at the time. We just was hanging out, took the kids out to do a picnic. Oh. And I said, this is crazy. So I remember I called the staff over. I said, in 2 hours, we are no longer a part of Woodland Hills. Oh. And Aaron Jolin, though, if you know him, he's been there for 33 years. He's like, what are you talking about? Had to let him know, and that was that. And it was not good. Not good at all. We just didn't have the time. We didn't know what we were stepping into. And that Lifehouse isn't the Lifehouse now. This is a totally different entity. But like you said, it didn't work out. We got pulled from there when the Family Freedom Center, and then we all walked out of there, 13 of us gone. And I remember just they all looked at me to say, Pez, what's next? Yeah. And I said, okay, we're going to become our own nonprofit in 2 weeks. Jay says it's not going to happen. I said, give me 2 weeks. Sure enough.
Yes.
12 days. We went from putting our paperwork in to receiving our letter.
Wow.
In 12 days.
That's amazing.
Yep. So, and that was April 16th of 24. Okay. By May, we had, I don't know, 150 grand in funding. Actually, a little bit more, like 210 grand in funding. Then I hired on a bunch of the staff and then needed to figure out, how do I get the rest of this money? Yeah. So there was a time, like, I fronted from my own money, like 2 months of salaries. Oh. Just because I said, we went from having no building to a 1,000 square foot space that was gifted to us from Valley Youth Center, and running. And we didn't have a kitchen. We had one bathroom, no outdoor space, nothing.
Oh my gosh.
We was running 60, 70 kids in there. And I told them, I said, do y'all see like the kids that followed us just from Central Hillside alone? We had kids coming down from the range during summer to come do programs.
Wow.
So I said, whatever it takes, we're going to make this work. Sure enough, we ended up getting a little bit more grants, and then we got gifted from Elaine Wickstrom. Shout out to Elaine, $250,000 just in a check. Boom, here you go.
Oh my gosh,
I said,
amazing.
we back. So within all that, we met Dan Stone, who is a pastor at Hermantown Church, who has the First Presbyterian Church, and said, hey, we hear about what y'all doing. Here's a space, y'all got it for free.
Wow.
It was like, so just staying super consistent, and continue to do the work we did. And we, even during that time, I'm wild. Like, I don't know how my mind works. I'm like you in the sense, like, I'm always looking for more. Sometimes my staff's like, Pez. But I tell them, I said, if we're not doing it, I don't got time to figure out if somebody else is going to do it. Because I'm watching people suffer now.
Yes.
I'll get y'all a raise, trust me. But right now, I just need y'all to, we got to go to work.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yes.
So where we are now, I mean, we are close to 80 kids a day.
That's awesome.
In a commercial kitchen that's 3 times the size of this, probably 2-3 times. Got a full gym again, got 2 running vans, and 15,000 square feet of space.
That's awesome.
We never had that, so it's really good where we are now. What I'm looking forward to is I'm trying to work with St. Louis County now to open a satellite NYS in the range. So I used to run youth diversion up there. And they have so many kids up there that they got a lot of issues, but they don't have much for youth at all, especially the teens. And I got to know hundreds of those youth up there just in the schools and run diversion that I would love to have a campus up there.
Yes.
So that's what I'm working on.
Oh, well, let's chat because we're also trying to expand services up there. So we got a whole follow-up combo that needs to happen. Well, congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, same to you. So I appreciate the work that y'all do. Like you said, I love the line. I know there's a lot. Even y'all doing Harbor Highlands, with the kids there, and that park they just built there is awesome. So
it was high time that those basketball
it was time.
hoops were very sad before that. Yeah, we're grateful. We had some great partners who made that happen, and I think I'm probably the same way. I remember one time I had a staff member, and she said lovingly, the more you think, the crazier you get. I think that's fair because I say sometimes I should get myself a shirt that says can't leave well enough alone because I just feel like, okay, we've done that. But what else? What else does this need? Or can we do this? Or can we work with this person? Or, and I think can be really fun. And for the people who work with me, probably is also sometimes exhausting.
But I got a great team. I'd say I love my team.
Same. Yeah. I'm really lucky. Yeah. Like I walked into a great team, and then I've had the very good fortune of getting to work with lots of amazing people. I feel really lucky.
Yep. So as we start to ramp up, there's a question we ask everybody, and don't think of it as something that you'll change, but if you could go back to any specific point in your life where you needed it the most, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, that kind of gives me chills because I think I can think of so many times that could have been helpful. And I think probably knowing me, would I have listened? But I think it would be something really simple, like be brave. Or maybe you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You'll find your people. Like I said, I was a nerdy kid. I was sometimes a lonely kid, I think, because I spent a lot of time thinking and reading. And I remember there were times in my life where I sort of thought to myself, am I ever going to find my people? And then I think for lots of us as we grow up, we do find our people in different ways. And I absolutely found my people and have a great group of friends, and that's really amazing, and colleagues that I respect. And but there were times where maybe it didn't feel that way. And so I think maybe both be brave, don't apologize for being who you are. If you're a lion, don't bother trying to act tame. But also you'll find your people. I think that would have been really helpful for me to hear. And so I try to remind myself to say that to folks too if I feel like they're maybe feeling like they can't find their people. Like your people are out there
For sure.
and you will find them, and then you will be reminded that like you are as you should be. You know, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to change yourself in any fundamental way. There's nothing broken about you. You'll find your people. What's yours?
Ooh. There's a quote I came up with years ago. And it's live for a purpose or die for no reason. Like, and that's like, I don't know what made me think of it. But I always want to like, I never want to be stagnant or like just okay. But I always like, every day I get up and I do ask myself like, all right, what's your purpose today? Like, what do you want to get done? Not just in, like the desk side of things, but the people side of things. And like when I die, like what do you want people to say about you? Like I really do want to have a legacy. I don't care what that sounds like to most people. Oh, I don't care. Like when people talk about me when I die, I want it to be like, yo, Pez was that guy. Like he did what he said he was going to do. Because a lot of the kids we work with, you can tell they ask the same questions because they want to make sure you're somebody finally going to follow through. You know, and it's not annoying. I used to think, yo, stop asking me that, but it's like for years, whether from a parent or somebody else in your life, they said, oh, I'm gonna pick you up here, or I'm gonna get you this, and even when I was young, my brother's dad used to always say, oh, I'm gonna get you all this for Christmas, I'm gonna pick you up, or whatever, and it never happened. And I watched my brother get so mentally fucked up from it. Like, he would run away on Christmas. Like, just be gone 24 hours, come back next day, like nothing happened. But he's like, I'm so sick of people keep telling us they're going to do things for us and they don't. So, like, my thing is, if I say I'm going to do it, I promise you I'm going to do it. I don't know. Well, I don't care if it takes 3 days or a week. It's going to get done. Just know I'm going to be a man of my word. So that's mine. Yeah.
All right, what's yours?
It's just, if I could go back, it would be to slow down and enjoy the time with the kids. All the time. You know, like my wife will send me a picture of our youngest kid. I show him to Pez all the time, too. Like, just little kids playing in the backyard. And they're so sweet. And you're like, man, did I really spend enough time with them back then? And I think I did, to my credit. But I probably could have done better or been more patient, you know, because you only get one shot with the kids. And when it's over, it's over. And they're grown adults or they're a pain in your ass. They're getting in trouble and they're frustrating you. But it's like, man, anybody that's got little kids, just slow down, spend time with them. Because then all you have is pictures.
That's it.
That's it.
Memories.
Yeah.
Well, that's good too.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun. I really enjoyed this, and I appreciate all the work that you're both doing. And I'm excited. We need to talk about lots of ideas.
Yep, you bet. So, and like always, thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time.
Boom.
Boom.